Hey again, everybody. Well, it's Carpo, and I really hate talking about politics. I hate talking about anything related to politics or Congress, lobbying. So I'm going to make the video anyway. I took a few notes earlier just because I wanted to make a point on lobbying and what a big damage it does to the structure of our society, of our nation. But it just seems like it's pointless to even talk about because it's not going to change. In other words, you can make as many laws as you want to prevent people from giving money to politicians and to Congress, but all they'll do is just, go out to lunch with them and slip it under the table. It's very hard to make people accountable, and the reason why we have so many laws that prevent you and I from living our lives with affordable telephones, affordable power, the ability to buy an automobile off the internet instead of having to go to a car dealership. All of these are laws that are brought forth by lobbying interests, and it's all in the name of money. One could argue that, well, business drives the economy, so they deserve to have their say first. I just wanted to, without getting too long into this, talk about a few different companies that, types of, not specific companies, but industries, rather, that lobby Congress the most. Business associations, such as companies that make asbestos, that say, hey, we want to start putting this on the market again. They spent $2.2 billion over the past 20 years lobbying Congress. We have the insurance companies which lobby Congress. That keeps the prices up in the auto industry, and they all work together. Oil, gas, and coal, the amount they spend is, astronomical. The medical industry, the American medical industry spent $15 million just last year lobbying. Auto dealers, they actually have laws in place to prevent you from buying a new car unless you buy it from their association. You've got power and electric companies like GE spent $4 million lobbying last year, $1.7 billion over the last 20 years. We've got Boeing and military weapons manufacturers. We've got cell phone and cable like Comcast, who lobbied for $11 million last year. AT&T, $14 million. $1.4 billion over the past 20 years. We've got the Realtors Association, as in just buying a home. You've got Facebook, who spent $10 million lobbying last year. Why does why does Facebook lobby? Well, of course, because they're special interest and they have money. And then there's the pharmaceutical industry, which takes the cake, of course. They've spent $4 billion over the past 20 years. The rates that they have lobbied have just skyrocketed over the past decade. And they're pushing drugs through faster than ever with less research done on them. And then they can lobby to not allow lawsuits. And so it's bad. Then there's the banks, which don't even need to lobby, because the banks already have the Federal Reserve, which was not even an American, it's not even a company, or it's not even a part of the American institution. It's like a private institution that we borrow money from. Looks like it's starting to rain, so hopefully it's not too loud here. So what do? I believe that we could have equal time for election coverage. I believe that we could have a public fund that would allow people to campaign and run for Congress, for president, or whatever it may be. There are a lot of things we could do, but the likelihood of us doing any of that is slim. And so here's a few more notes just to make, to icing on the cake here. To be in Congress, one of the most frustrating things is, to even become a politician, no matter what your intentions are, to be a congressman, the candidate must raise $14,000 per day, 7 days a week, in order to reach their, let's see, the $1.6 million is the minimum you need to win a Senate seat. That's a lot of money for the average person to raise, and all of this comes from special interests, of course. For every dollar spent lobbying, and this one just got me, for every dollar that is spent lobbying, $760 in support and savings are the returned to the companies on average. And this is a 76,000% profit for every dollar spent lobbying. I mean, that is significant. $760 in return. All you have to do is pass a simple law that says, well, we don't we can eliminate this regulation so we can dump this shit in the river again, or whatever it might be. Very small changes make massive sweeping, you know, changes across the business industry. You know, it's bad. So in 2017, private interests spent $3.37 billion lobbying, and they have what they call the ROI, or return on investment, and they have another one, the ROIFL, or ROIFL, return on investment from lobbying. It's a totally separate unit because there's so much money being brought back. And a lot of this comes out of your pocket. You're paying higher premiums. They're lobbying for higher a tax on this or on that, so you're just paying a little bit more, and that's the thing. We're all getting milked for it. And then there's the revolving door. Most people who leave Congress become lobbyists afterwards. So the lobbyists come in and say, hey, here's a bunch of money for your campaign, and hey, vote for us, and hey, if you just go along with what we want to do, then when you leave, we've got a job for you. So 50% of senators and 42% of representatives become lobbyists after they leave. That has to end. You know, the potential for a person in Congress to be influenced by outside money and then concerned about where they're going to be after they are in one of the highest positions in the land, it's just absurd. Then there's the lobby for laws like groups like Citizens United, which is a front for basically saying, you know, screw you guys, screw the small guy. Corporate rule is just the way of the world, and that allows them to see corporations as citizens, if you will, and that makes a major influence on how these campaigns run. Yeah, that's all I got. What drives innovation? I mean, could we have got to where we are with all these amazing inventions and discoveries which have lengthened our lives, caused us conflict, but also have improved our lives? You know, we don't have to worry about as much about our children dying during childbirth or the mother dying during childbirth. The mortality rates were, you know, have gone through the roof. We have actually doubled our lifespan, more or less, over the last couple hundred years, and we've come up with some amazing discoveries, inventions. Regardless of what you think about medicines or vaccines, they have prevented a lot of disease and saved a lot of lives. And the question is, could we have got here without the competitive advantage that we get from, well, competition itself? You know, competition has always driven innovation. This is the theory behind letting the free market do what it does. And over the years, I've tried to process how I feel about this, whether government should ever interfere in a business. Like, if a huge company, if a company just keeps conglomerating and getting bigger and bigger, and they become the one company that runs everything, should any government step in and tell them no? I mean, we're talking this company, it's a corporation, but it's also a private company that somebody built and that people work there. They're humans too. Who should stop them? In other words, we need to have limits, but who decides what those limits are? The average citizen really has no say in how any of this turns out. No matter what you might think about voting, you know, if you don't have enough money to become a candidate, then it's not going to happen. So we think that we have power to vote in our local elections, and to an extent we do. But those candidates have to have enough money to even send out the thousands of flyers and all the ridiculous commercials that they have to do to compete. And by the time you get to the president, you can't even vote. You have the Electoral College doing that for you. So what exactly do we do about a situation where the average American, let's say in my country, because I'm only speaking for America, is completely corrupt and inside out, but manages to function at some level still to where it could be worse, in a sense? And so that's about all I'm going to go into it. I'm not a political person because it ends up being futile and fruitless to sit and read every headline about what he said, she said, who's going to be here, what the Democrats have done, what the Republicans have done, and all the while knowing how sad it is that a majority, that there are more independents in this nation than there are Democrats or Republicans, but you'd never hear about the independents, even though they're the majority. We are the majority. People who want to look at these candidates critically and say, okay, I like this person, I like what they're saying, I don't like what this person's saying, so I'm going to vote for this person. People want to believe that they can do their own research and have an impact in their, where they live. Because we're forced to live here. We're forced to be part of this nation. Of course we can leave. That's not my point. No matter where you go in the world today, you can't just escape and start your own town or your own country anymore. The world's getting smaller. And so what we do is we shop around like we do for jobs for a place to live, that suits our needs, and reflects our values. And so when we talk about America, we kind of romanticize the history. This idea that the forefathers were these great people. Why do we always romanticize these leaders of the past? Many of them were complete assholes. And, it's because we want to believe that there was a time when we were, I don't know, better than we are maybe. We want to believe that there was a time where we had prestige and values, and that somehow we've slipped or fallen from grace, when the reality is we've never achieved grace. We just haven't got there yet. And so hopefully one day, when people stop hissing and spitting at each other over politics, and we step back and ask what our needs really are, and how much of what we think we know is being influenced by television, media, and our heroes, then, and especially celebrities, because in my belief, listening to celebrities and their opinions on any subject is no better than listening to any other person, a neighbor or whatnot. These people are paid lots of money to tell you what to buy and how to think. So until we stop admiring people just for being famous, which is a huge problem, then we're going to continue to be suckered. And so if we stop looking at people because of their money or their fame or their business, qualities, and start looking to them as people and say, what is this person, what is this person really reflecting? What kind of values in the world? We're going to continue to circle the drain. Just hopefully we get it plugged up in time. Who knows? Humans have got a long way to go in this world before we're completely extinct. But then again, it could happen tomorrow. So it's an interesting thing, being forced into politics, being forced to be part of an environment. And believe me, everything is politics. There's politics within the family, within the community. It's just part of human nature. There's even in every animal group as well. So it's a universal thing. It's the politics of life, if you will. Talk to y'all later.